we have some kind of suit or whatever. But today it's casual Tuesdays.
This is actually my exercise shirt. It probably shows because it's just loose and you can actually see that I have muscles on it.
Oh, I love it. It works good. Give me a second, okay?
Okay, can I show the audience something though?
No, baby. We'll show them at the end of it, okay?
Okay.
Is that where you're at? All right, go play.
Yeah, well, can you...
I mean, if it's something cool.
Yeah, we'll see it if it's something cool.
No, I mean...
So anyway, you got to get started on yours real quick. So while you're doing that, I will help them out for just a second.
Okay. And ladies and gentlemen, of course, I am, as ever, the lore runner. Above me, I have Mr. Lore Reloaded. Good evening and afternoon, and always. Now, normally, right about now, we'd be like, so here's what Liz Price is, and we adopt a really silly accent as we describe exactly what the Star Trek Rewrite Project is. We're never doing that ever again. No, really, I'm actually in the process of editing together a video which summarizes what the Star Trek Rewrite Project is, so that we can just kind of point to that going forwards. I'm about 40 seconds into it, which doesn't sound impressive, but anybody who's worked on animation before knows exactly how time-consuming that is, especially since I'm ripping the sprites as I go for time flow reasons I don't feel like getting into right now. That will be a thing. I am working on it in my copious spare time. So far, I've managed to about 2 hours out of 3 weeks to work on it. It is going to come out. I need to bug Mr. Reloaded about a few lines, and otherwise, I've already got most of the audio set up and ready to go. And then we'll put together the videos, and hopefully it'll be something that'll be cool. You guys liked the extant video, so I kind of want to do more of those animation things. I actually really enjoy doing it, and I'm going to plug that as often and hard as I possibly can. Today we'll be discussing Enterprise, Season 1, Episode...
Didn't even see my screen. Episodes 7 and 8.
7 and 8. That's it. That's it. I do have your chat up, although nobody's in your chat right now. There it is. It does say 7 and 8. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, see?
Yes, today we'll be covering 7 and 8, which is the Ice Comet episode, which has nothing to do with an ice comet, and Civilization are the two episodes. I just got hamstrung, so that guy gets to die. Alright, so now that he's dead, never ever get in my way. That is death. That's what happens.
I mean, to be fair, when it comes to the asteroid, wasn't that like the biggest asteroid that humanity ever found, or maybe everybody?
I think so. I know it had the psyllium, a super rare element. You know how rare it is? It's only mentioned in one episode in all of Star Trek. I checked.
Yeah. So
that's how rare it is.
That would be
insane.
very rare, though.
It's incredible. It's actually funny how many things are mentioned in Star Trek in only one episode and never come up. Does that make them not rare if the super rareness is common?
Well, yeah. I mean, if it comes up twice, then it's not rare. It's just uncommon. So
that's a fair point, but it's okay because it never comes up ever again.
Well, and it doesn't need to, really, because it's done its purpose. Everybody.
That is also very, very true. Also, for those of you who care about the animation project, I know at least some of my own people have actually seen it, or at least seen some of the prep work I've done for it. I've decided after some thought I'm not going to use Chrono Trigger for Enterprise. I'm going to use the NES, like all of it. There's actually a lot of reasons for that, but the biggest one is I want to do another animation project. Yes, that would be 3 if you're paying attention. And I need a really good singular sprite set for that third, and, well, that's Chrono Trigger. So I've decided to simply claim Chrono Trigger for myself. That's the main reason. Yes, I'm selfish. No, I don't care.
But you could double it up. Don't they do that? Like Deep Space Nine reused a lot of its footage anyway. So
that's true. And I would rather not do that, especially since it would look really weird if you suddenly see, Chrono, who is this person over here, but also this completely unrelated person over here, and people would just kind of be like, wait, what? And I'm already doing representative storytelling instead of literal storytelling, which is already problematic, so let's just skip all that. Good evening, Sierra Mike.
It could be Power Rangers.
I would rather die.
Power Rangers, and what is it? The Power Rangers, what do they use? The
Zords.
Yeah, no. What do they use? The Sensei footage or whatever?
Oh, the show. I don't actually remember what it's called. Sorry.
Yeah, but you could do Power Rangers and then that. See?
We could, or I could do anything else.
Literally anything else.
What's funny is there is a SNES Power Ranger game, so there are Power Ranger sprites I could use. I'm not going to, for reference.
But that could be a Easter egg.
It could, and I could never do that. Those are both options here. Star Trek. So we're covering. I kind of, if you will forgive me, I'd kind of like you to cover the comet plot, and then I want to gush about the B plot, and then we'll discuss the B plot if that's okay as a format for you.
We can, but before, we probably want to let everyone know how this whole Star Trek thing is. We are Babylon 5ing all this.
Wait, I just said we're not doing that anymore. I literally just gave that speech.
I was paying a lot of attention.
No, it's okay. You were paying attention to more important things. So to repeat myself for him, to repeat myself for him, we're never doing that again. Because the whole point of doing this tutorial, this is what the Star Trek Rewrite Project is video, which I was working on today, is so we could point to that. And there's a quick, easy, it's going to be a little under 5 minutes video that people will just look to and they know exactly what the project is. And that way we don't have to repeat ourselves every single time we do it. And it also serves as a nice intro point, which we could point to whenever we start archiving these videos.
Okay, so I did hear that, and I'm not going insane. But it's not done yet.
No, it's not. But and anybody who's you know, they don't know what the Star Trek Rewrite Project is, you can go to hell. Or I mean, you can ask nicely, and we'll share our information about it.
So we don't want to go over it one more time, just to...
Fine, one more time.
I'm
just the one.
It's not out yet.
Hang on. Anybody? Let's ask. I'm legitimately curious. Does anybody in either chats? Because I got both chats up. Does anybody in either chat have an interest in hearing what the Trek Rewrite Project is? Legitimate question. Other than Aaron Telford, who is awesome. Thank you for supporting Mr. Reloaded. He needs it.
What about the... Yeah, I appreciate it. But what about the rando that comes up and can't comment yet?
Well, that rando can go to hell.
Unspoken heathen.
Okay, there we go. We had one person who says yes, which is acceptable. One person is enough. I'll let you do it because I'm terrible at it anyways.
Let's have this out. I mean, do you think it's wrong to do it this time because it's not out yet, and then after that we can point out? Because that was my thoughts. I mean, I hate it when we fight in front of our friends.
No, it's a decent idea. It's a decent idea. I wasn't going to because we're a little bit late today, and that was my specific reasoning.
So we're always late, number one, and we always run late, number two. So I mean,
why are you so quiet? You didn't start being so quiet. You just went quiet like 5 or 6 minutes ago, and I kept waiting for it to fix itself.
Okay. I mean, if I speak up, does this help at all?
No.
Nothing on my side. Do I sound okay to everyone?
That is much better. You just went much better for a second there.
Okay. Well, I'm just speaking up. That's all I'm doing.
No, as you were moving, as you shift in the chair. That's what did it.
Okay. So
I'm dead serious. Hang on. Go back to shift. Like, whatever you just did physically.
I mean, I was leaning
now
back.
Scooch forward.
Okay, now I'm leaning forward.
That is such a huge difference.
Okay.
That should not be that much of a difference.
Well, I'll scoot up a little bit.
I'm just weirded out by that. I'm sorry. Anyways.
See, people don't actually come here for us to do the rewrites. They come here for our interactions.
Yeah, that's all they care about, really.
Exactly what they want.
This is Abbott and Costello. I'll let you decide which one's which.
Yeah, exactly. See, now I feel bad. Now I feel like, you think I don't listen to you, and now I don't even want to do the rewrite thing.
It's true. I know you secretly hate this, but that's okay. That just means I can start the Star Wars rewrite early.
You're doing a Star Wars rewrite?
A lot of people have expressed interest in that.
I'm not invited to it?
Oh, no, you are absolutely invited, sir.
This channel started
That's the whole point. Are you not listening? This is a, hey, are you interested in that eventually thing?
I don't even know who you are. All right, here we go. For the last time that we'll ever do this ever.
Oh, now I got to finish that video sometime next week.
So what are we doing? And it has to be released before Sunday at 5.
Oh, God, that is super not happening. That is mega not happening.
Allow me to assure you, you won't hear the end of it if it doesn't get released. But for the last time only, because you'll have another reference that will definitely be in the description if you're a rando that pops up. We are taking all of Star Trek and we are Babylon 5ing it, rewriting everything from the beginning, moving forward. So everything is going to be a little more cohesive, fixing issues. Generally, we're going to rewrite it as if we don't have to worry about anything going on like execs or like funding or anything of that nature. Though I will sometimes press upon Runner to see if we can do it in a way that also meets that, just because we're that smart and we're that.
Damn. Double damn. All right. I'm sorry, everyone. I'm trying to fix the audio because I was wondering if it was something that I did on my end. And now I can't hear Mr. Reloaded on Zoom at all. Which means you guys can't hear him. I figured I'd just try. Hang on, guys. I don't actually know why that did that. That should not have operated in that manner. That is insanity. Your guys could probably still hear you. Can you still hear me? Give me a visual if you can hear me. Mr. Reloaded. Okay, okay, you can't hear me. So that should not be happening. Give me a second. You guys can enjoy the fight against Thorum here while I wait. Did I even hit him? I don't think I did. Doesn't matter anyways. How did he only give gold? Meanwhile, the other stream's like, what? Where is... I lost the other stream. There's the other stream. Found it. Find it. We're good. We're good. There we go. Who likes strudel? Nobody likes strudel. I'm just kidding. I like strudel. I should probably do that. I like what I'm thinking about it. There we go. Cancel this one out. Try that again. So I'm guessing you have your option. You do sound better. I'm guessing you have your options set differently than me because I couldn't just rejoin the meeting.
Okay, that's weird.
That's fine. I'm here. The audio does sound better. You sound much clearer. So that did actually fix it.
So what was it? Just something in Zoom?
So for those of you curious, because this is very, very irrelevant, that's why I'm going to share it. In some games, Assassin's Creed Unity, they don't know how to properly acknowledge certain types of audio output. And so as a direct consequence, if you don't have it set up to a specific setting, which is allowing a device to take exclusive control of your audio device, it won't push out the audio correctly. Now, I had that setting on because I'm currently streaming Assassin's Creed Unity. Apparently, having that, there's a reason I usually leave that off, because that's what was screwing your audio. Turning it off and resetting it, you sound fine now. So.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Future info. Sorry.
So, we have Eric Remote Steam, who hasn't been here before, so was actually adding about it. So, like Mr. Runner said, he's going to have that done by Sunday, especially with the miscellaneous changes, or every 5 minutes it's going to come up in the next Sunday review, because I mean, that's just me. It's just who I am, so it's just got to be me. We're actually talking about that. Sometimes I hate being me because I can't not. It's bad. All right, here we go. Just so you know, we're Babylon 5ing. I'll just do it real quick. Babylon 5ing all of Star Trek, rewriting it from the beginning so it all makes sense, so that it's all cohesive. Front-loaded writing versus that stupid back-loaded writing that they tried to do everywhere. A couple of changes to the overall universe, just to let you know. Transporters require an entrance and exit point. Transporter enhancers can be used, but are still dangerous. Minimum species will have the ability to transport without a pad. So if you're trying to transport from one pad to the other, it's fine. If you don't have a pad on either side, anywhere from 60 to 90% chance someone's going to die. Enhancers lessen that. I know we kind of talked about teleporters not existing yet in Enterprise. We'll go in that a little bit more at a during this. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Universal translators don't instantly know what's going on. It takes time. They are pre-programmed with known races. Prime Directive is going to be pragmatic. Think the original series version. We'll actually get more into that in the coming up episode. Replicators, certain things can't be replicated. They also work like nanomachines on the industrial stuff. So you basically type in what you want and nanomachines effectively make
I
it.
kind of wanted to talk to you about that too. I had another idea. We don't have to talk about that today. I just wanted to mention it while it was on my mind.
For right now, unless that gets changed, I guess they have food stores. Holodecks use the same power source as the ship and the same physical place. There's no malfunctions when it happens to that, so you can't have a malfunction and somebody think that they're James Bond and they can get killed in that way. Also screw off Voyager with this different power source stuff, come up with better writing. Klingon honor is based on undiscovered country, not anything else, so you can be literally anything as long as you do it in a way that is honor bound and brings honor to the Empire. Then that's all that matters. So if you're a janitor, if you find a way to clean things that has never been found before, you have brought honor to your family. Consoles don't explode, the actual areas explode. Time travel doesn't exist in the 22nd, 23rd, or 24th century. You cannot jump in a
gravity well. Any gravity well.
Yeah, or we can't have a Constitution class. Because let me tell you, Constitution classes are the most powerful vessels in all of Starfleet with the ability to time travel. Just so.
Why do you think they retired them?
Yeah, exactly. That's why you never see them. Canon. That's head canon. Because here's what happened. They were contacted by the 24th century, or I'm sorry, 32nd century, spoilers for anyone who doesn't want to watch Discovery Season 3, 3, 2, 1. They were contacted by the 32nd century and told that they can't time travel anymore, and so that's why they disappeared. Boom. That is honestly going to be a video. Thank you, Lore Runner. You're keeping food on my family's table. What the hell else was it? That's about it.
I think that covers it.
By the time you guys are watching this, there should be a link in the description sending you to the intro that'll go.
Which is totally going to be done.
It's just totally.
I'm 50 seconds into a 5-minute video, guys. We got this.
Yep. Only took him a couple hours. I cannot wait. Also, unrelated, Lore Runner may not have a couple of streams that he's going to be on for the next week.
1 or 70, yeah.
One or none of them. All right, and so we're off to the races, as you were saying, talking about breaking the ice. Specifically, you wanted me more to focus, and there's not.
You don't have to. I was just.
It's fine. I don't care. There's not a whole lot in this that I think we're really going to change. Even in the B plot, maybe a little bit, but not a total lot. For the most part, I think it's still going on theme. For those who haven't watched before, we have Archer completely out of his depth, as well as not liking and trusting the Vulcans, and more he is having to. He's realizing that they actually do need the help of the Vulcans. I think this goes right into it. I really liked how they were noticing the Vulcans always just happened to be there. I would keep that, if not make it a little more prominent. Instead of just having it here, I may have went back and had it in previous episodes as well, where a ship just happens to be there. They're like, oh, there's the Vulcan ship, whatever. And now it just... Now just Archer's done. So at this point, they find this asteroid, and the ship shows up, and Archer's like, "Look, you're following us. We know you're watching over our shoulders. So if you could just give us some space." I'd have the Vulcans basically respond the way that they did. Honestly, there's not a whole lot that I'd change. The
B plot's, or excuse me, the A plot's pretty legit.
I like the fact that he has to ask the Vulcans, that he again, once again, swallows his pride and asks the Vulcans to help out. And the only real modification I'd have is maybe seeing a slight change in the captain on being surprised. So instead of, even if you had it where we don't know if he contacted them or not, because T'Pol comes up and says, he doesn't want you to ask. He doesn't expect. He expects you to get these people killed. And then it's a hard cut to them being saved, and then they realize it was actually the Vulcan ship. I would still have maybe the Vulcan captain, say something to the effect of, it was, I don't know if you say it was surprising, but And he wouldn't say I was happy, but
Pleasantly surprised is how I think he'd phrase it.
yeah, or something. I was pleasantly surprised that you allowed us to assist. And I wouldn't even have him, it would be the only time he had no air of I'm better than you. Like we would keep that I'm better than you throughout the entire thing, except for that one line. It would be said with a little bit of respect. And specifically, he would say it like, you allowed us, not we saved the day, not we're better. You allowed us to do it. So would there be a recurring Vulcan ship and crew following them instead? I wouldn't have it, and Runner, you can comment on this. I honestly wouldn't have it be the same crew. I would ships just happen to be there. Because the same ship, I don't know. I mean, you can shrug your shoulders all you want.
No, I didn't get the drop I wanted.
But yeah,
I like the idea that you posited. I like the idea that we bring in, obviously this is, we don't have actors, but if this was the show, I would insist on a separate actor for the captain each time. Because I think that gets across better the idea that it's the Vulcan fleet, right? Like the Vulcans are trying to keep up on this one ship. And it emphasizes two things. One, the Vulcan, watching over the shoulder thing, but two, the fact that the Vulcans have a fleet. Remember, Federation, excuse me, they're not the Federation yet. Starfleet doesn't. Starfleet has really one ship. And I keep emphasizing that point, too. So I think that would be a better way to get across that contrast.
Well, and it shows, I mean, basically the Vulcans, both in what we are doing and the OG, are effectively like the power base or one or the top three power base, right? So ships everywhere and ships that are formidable. So it really wouldn't be too much out of the way because they've already explored all this. It's just the United Earth hasn't. Yeah. So just redirecting a ship here and there wouldn't be a huge deal for them. And again, they wouldn't have to interact every time, but their presence would always be known.
What was the episode with they go down and it's the former colony and we made it a Travis-centric episode?
That would have been...
It was just a bit ago, and I can't remember the name of it. Terra Nova. That, I think, would be a perfect example to have a random Vulcan ship kind of poke their head in, metaphorically, and be like, hey, you guys need any help down there checking out that planet? No, thank you. We were just checking up on our human colony. All right, well, if you require any assistance, do know that we will be in the system for several more cycles. Just one scene, but getting across what you were talking about, right?
And have it like something incredibly stupid, like we just wanted to analyze like this rock that's no bigger than a baseball. Just something like they're not even trying to hide the fact.
Yeah, because they're not really good at deception, as we've seen several other times. So they're just, no, there was a particularly fascinating form of igneous we found. Yes, tell us about it. We will be sure to give you the full details of our scientific analysis at a future date. We will upload them to your databanks later.
When they actually do upload, and again, it's just like a rock or a plant.
No, it would be like a super analysis, though, of this rock. They went to town on this rock.
They left nothing unturned. That rock is specifically.
And so no, we're saying this jokingly, but I like this idea. I like the idea that Archer later on, like towards the end of that episode, is reading the data pad, and T'Pol comes in and they're talking about Travis because Travis-centric episode, and Archer's just looking like 13 parts per million of such and such, 42 ounces of this, and he starts reading it off like.
You know what would be funny is, like, we intersperse it throughout their conversation, like he knows that it's idiotic, so they'll be like, Travis-centric, oh, look, 13 parts more whatever. They go back to the conversation, then he goes back, 42 parts per... He's like, I don't think a rock has ever been analyzed this thoroughly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, anyway, sorry. So back to the episode we're actually talking about.
He's like, oh, look, they estimate that there's a 0.00007% chance that any form of life could exist on that. And she looks up and he's like, I rounded up. There's actually a lot more numbers.
There's a few more.
Anyway.
So you've already mentioned the big edit that I would do to the A plot. But the other one that occurred to me, I like your idea of the Vulcan being, as you say, pleasantly, or I guess I said it, being pleasantly surprised, being like he he's kind of coming across as an ass, but that's not really the intent. It's more like he expects nothing of you. You know, that attitude. You know, he expects you to be the worthless or the terrible or the outcast. And then when you prove yourself better, he's like, okay, not too shabby. You know, like there's a legitimate thing there.
Yeah, I mean, and we could even he might not even have to say it that way. He could just make it about them. He's like, I don't know if you say I'm glad, but effectively, I'm glad that we saved the crew. We could even just make it about that, where he accepts that they teamed up on this one or something. Maybe that's how. An interesting piece maybe is make it all about how, you know, I've never talked with humans. I don't know much about humans. I'm not really all that interested in humans. I'm a Vulcan. Vulcans are awesome. And then that one line, we teamed up to save them, is the extent of his respect, you know?
Well, I might add just a little, like a visual thing where he just maybe nods his head forward just a tiny bit, you know? But otherwise, I'm with you. Just a snippet.
What was the other piece you wanted to change, though? You said there were two.
It's a very minor thing, and it's really just a polishing element. No transporters. No transporters on the Vulcan ship. No transporters on the Enterprise. So they have to use the tractor beam because the grappling beam doesn't work. It's really it. Just clarifying that, because if you remember in the episode that you watched a couple hours ago, they came up with some stupid reason, which I actually don't remember off the top of my head, why they couldn't just beam them out.
Well, the transporter thing. So I know we discussed, I forget, because the Romulans gave the transporters, right? Is the way we came up with it.
I think we made it a little more nuanced than that. Like the Romulans pushed the Vulcans to develop transporter tech in a certain way. And blah, blah,
Right.
blah, blah.
But the reason why the transporters aren't even a viable option. Well, the other thing I think is if they had transporters, we could actually add that and it be a little, add some tension. Because that would always be the possible option for them. Well, we could transport them up, but there's a 50% chance they'll die, you know?
Oh, I see what you're saying. So, like, the Vulcan ship could have transporters, and everyone, even the Vulcans, are like, nah.
Well, yeah, that's my thing. Like, even the Vulcans, even at their tech level, it's not a viable way. Because, I mean, it's not even a viable way in TNG. So it's always going to be an issue. And so...
In fact, hang on, I want to jump in here, because I can picture a scene where Archer is debating this option with T'Pol, and T'Pol's going through the math, and Archer says, so you're telling me that I only get one of my crew members back? And T'Pol would just quietly, and not in a mocking way, but just quietly correct him. Maybe like, no, you would have a 20% chance per crewman to get any of your crewmen back.
Right.
And this could also be an excellent episode to really establish the threat of the transporter, like this early on, right? Because this will be the first time. So you've changed my mind on this. I like this idea. So that means the Vulcans have transporters, because it works really well for the narrative here, and that is always my rule. Does it work for the narrative?
So yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Okay, I'm with you. You've changed my mind. I admit it. This one time, and all those other times too.
Talk to us about the B plot.
So the B plot, for those of you... All right, I got a question for you. In both chats, again, I'm watching both chats. How many of you remember the B plot of this episode? At all? You may remember that there is a B plot, but do you remember what it is? And now we gotta wait 30 seconds for you and about 5 seconds for me. So we'll just kind of... It's okay, we got a cutscene playing, which is unskippable cutscene. Negative to gameplay.
While we're waiting, Pop Parada says, I thought you limited transports to ship only, not enough range. No, so the way, and we explained this before, but the way the transporters actually worked originally, and the way I think we're returning to, is that it's not ship to ship, it's site to site. So you have to have a transporter pad on both sides. So that can be 2 ships, a ship and a planet, probably not 2 planets, that's too far away, but a station and a planet. You have to have a site-to-site transport for it to be as close to 100% as it can. You can transport without another site, but if you do that, you have a very, very low chance of survivability. To the point that people would only do it if they're suicidal or you absolutely had no other choice.
Yeah, you're on a volcano which is erupting. At that point, sure, beam out because you're dead anyways.
Yeah, you at least have a chance, but...
So... The reason I asked about that, I only got 2 responses. Both people don't remember the episode at all. The reason I mentioned this is I mentioned this to Mr. Reloaded just a few hours ago when he was about to watch it, and his response was B plot.
Yes, the
There's a B. So the B plot on this episode is awesome. It's actually really cool, and a great. It's what I consider core Trek, character centric. Two characters just acting off of each other. That's, in my opinion, almost all of the really good stuff in Trek has come from two actors in a room acting off of each other. In this case, it is Tucker and T'Pol. T'Pol has gotten a message from her intended to be, because they still do. I say that like that. I'm not in favor of planned marriages. Sorry. But they still do planned marriages within Vulcan society, and she's stressed about this and doesn't really know how to deal with it in her wonderfully Vulcan manner. Tucker, I say accidentally, Tucker effectively accidentally reads the message. There's no maliciousness involved. It's just that Archer's an idiot. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. That's my thing. I don't know why he takes all the blame for this. That's one piece I just did not like. Why does he take all the... They thought that there was something going on with the Vulcans. Archer orders him to figure out what it is, and that's what he does. Yep. Now, Archer didn't mean anything. Is that what you're changing? Did I just ruin it?
No. That's I mean,
frustrating. Archer didn't mean anything by it. He didn't mean anything by it, but he wasn't reading her mail just because he had the option to. He was reading her mail because he thought the Vulcans were up to no good, because they're acting really suspicious.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, they send this. They show up. They say, "Hi, we have no interest in you or yours. We're just here." And then they send a coded message to the only Vulcan on the ship. And I will admit, even if I was in Archer's position, I would be a little bit about that.
And they try to hide it. They don't just do that. If you go back and watch it, it was like they had to look through some background noise or whatever.
Yeah, they pushed it out into the background energy emission or something.
It's like, are you sure this is it? He's like, yeah, this is a Vulcan message. Everything about that screams they're up to no good.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
But anyways, no, I do agree with you that Archer is actually the one to blame there. I was just reemphasizing that even in the existing episode, Tucker is effectively blameless here. More to the point, and this is very important when it comes to blame for me personally in real life, Tucker feels terrible about it. Like, he's just like, oh.
And he doesn't even tell Archer, which I think is great.
No, he doesn't tell Archer. He clams up about that. He respects her privacy on the matter. But he does finally reach out to her like, can we... I'm sorry. And he stumbles over his apology. Anyways, and then now this is where the episode really gets going, though, because the natural chemistry between Jolene Blalock and, I can't remember his name, the guy who plays Tucker, is actually excellent. I've talked so much about connecting lines between characters. The line between those two is, in my opinion, one of the better elements of all of Enterprise, and this episode highlights it. The two play off each other well. She doesn't really know how she's going to cope with this. He doesn't really know how he's going to help her. He wants to, but he's like coming from every different angle, personally, professionally, culturally, species-wise. And she is just sitting there just as bothered by him, but in a completely alien manner. And it's beautiful stuff. And really, I don't feel the need to change much of that either, because it plays very, very well. The only tiny little tidbit I would do, and even this I'm uncertain about, is whether or not I would change the culpability of Archer involved. Because if you remember, Archer was... I mean, he has a reason to be suspicious. I would be suspicious, but he's a little bit about it. And even that, I'm still kind of talking myself out of a change there, because, again, this is back when Archer is still, let's say what it is, bigoted against Vulcans. And so I'm kind of okay with that being in there. What do you think? That's a question for chat, too. But Mr. Reloaded is...
I was answering, I just have it on mute as well. I mean, I liked... I thought that was appropriate if that's the way they're going to do it. Honestly, there's one of two ways we can do it. Either the Vulcans are going to be super secretive about this, which makes sense because they don't want to show the humans anything. So that just adds into that arc, and then adds into Archer looking into it once again. Okay. Or we truly make it a Trip versus T'Pol at the beginning episode, where he's been, for whatever reason, T'Pol, so what happens is the captain shows up and he's like, oh, we're here to watch you, and we got some messages to send to T'Pol or whatever. And Archer, since they're open about it, Archer says fine or whatever and sends it. And Trip for whatever reason, just has been keeping tabs on T'Pol, just because he doesn't trust her either. If we want to go into that one, and he accidentally falls upon it, like for whatever reason, the search that he does pulls up that message, and you can't unread it once you saw it, right?
Mm-hmm.
He sees enough, and then he comes forward and he realizes, hey, I've been a jerk about it. So I would go one of those two ways. I kind of like the first one more than anything else, but the second one would be fine too.
You're kind of changing my mind again here, because I kind of like the second one a little bit. If nothing else, it's a bit truncated, but it's a different. There's two kinds of character arcs in fiction. There's the slow arc, which is normal and also very human and proper and blah blah blah. But then there's the hard arc, and hard arcs have a purpose. A hard arc is when something just massive shows up and emotionally or personally changes someone, and then they have a shift thereafter, right? And I kind of like the idea that this could serve as a hard shift for Tucker, which would also then be in contrast to Archer, who's going to have a much longer slow shift, right?
We'll have to rewrite him in the next episode, then a little bit.
Civ?
Yeah, because he comes at her pretty hard.
We could.
Okay, I'm just letting you know.
No, yeah, you're right. You're right. It's just I'm thinking about that. Admittedly, most of my mind is more and more recent stuff. But by season 2, the two, Tucker and T'Pol are effectively friends by season 2, and it's a great dynamic.
Well, no, actually, if we go that way, there's a way to make it work and get them quicker to being friends. So no, we'll talk about that. If you want to do that, that's fine. Then maybe again, it would make more sense. Especially with the opening, because the opening, the way they originally wrote it, basically they have all of these, they received all of these letters and stuff and like drawings from Earth, which makes no sense since Earth couldn't catch up with, they don't have any ships that could catch up with them, but whatever. Let's just assume that they magically get there through magic. And I'm going to address your super chat in a second, Pop, or Pad, so stay there. But he shows her like 2 different drawings that are not pleasant to the Vulcans. Like one makes them look like a green hobgoblin, and the other, they're not even a Vulcan at all. They're just like a gelatinous blob of some form. And it was written as friendly jibing from a work context, right? You work with them, they're just giving you a hard time. But because of how they've treated her all the way up to now, it actually comes off very mean and very cruel, like they're making fun of her. And so that would actually be more cruel than friendly. And at the end, it changes. So that would be somewhat of his changing arc if we were going to do that.
The more you're saying this, the more I'm liking it. Because one of the things we could do, just a little thing. If you remember, there is a scene in the episode where he's just staring at the thing. We don't know what it is, but he has now read it. And Trenier, thank you for reminding me on the actor name, Trenier does a good job of getting across in his face, how bothered he is by having accidentally, violated her privacy on this matter. Just as a little thing, we could have that one of those in the background, one of the pictures in the background, is so that as just a visual reminder of that mockery, and that. Go ahead.
You know what? I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but because they started out with like, which one would you like to have? Mm-hmm. And the one she chose was either the green hobgoblin or the little whatever, and that's the one she actually had it framed and put up, and that's the one that she had put up. And as he walks in, he could even turn and look at it.
And just have that moment of, like in the middle of his sentence, he just stalls for just a second as he sees the picture.
Yeah. And what'd be fun is during that dialogue, like when he stalls and he sees that and you see horror on his face, she actually speaks up and she says, I actually like that. It was the person who made it. I don't know. You'd have to work the comment, but the person who made it was attempting to make something beautiful, attempting to celebrate the meeting of our 2 cultures. Mm-hmm. And while they missed the point, I really care about what was on the inside of the person who made that.
No, I like it. Okay, so we're gonna move that in, and we're gonna have Trenier, call him the wrong name, Tucker comes off way too harshly early on. And it needs to be casual. It can't be actively malicious, but it does need to be clear that he is effectively sneering at her until he actually invites her properly. Talks to her. During the talk, we mentioned the picture that you just mentioned, and he just completely 180s on this one. And again, like I said, a hard shift in character there.
Well, and it's hard to write, but have him do it without even realizing that he's doing it. Now that's harder to write than people think.
That would be a challenge, but I'm still with it, and I still like the general concept.
Right.
And then by the end of the episode, she reaches out to him. He has the scene with her. In the actual episode, she's got the pie, but she doesn't take a bite from it. That always bothered me just a little bit. It makes a little bit more sense to me that she would actually attempt to. We don't have to show her eating, but the idea of her being like,
Well, I'd always inferred that she was going to eat it, I thought.
Well, it's interesting because I've heard a lot of people say the opposite.
Oh, when I saw that, I always just, why would she be? What did she do? She just grabbed it and decided to look at it. That seems like the most logical thing you could do.
It's extremely logical. I don't get it either. My point is that it feels like a weirdly framed scene, and that's a complaint of cinematography, not editing. So we can just have that be as is.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. I mean, I always just assume that she did, but if it leaves it up to the imagination too much, where people can't be trusted, then yeah, either that or it ends with her looking at it. And the last thing you see is the fork come down as she takes a piece of it, like she piece, and as soon as the fork hits the glass, it goes to credits or whatever. Something like that. I mean, yeah.
we could workshop it, but either way, it doesn't matter. That is this episode. You notice we did hardly any changes to this episode,
right?
Which is interesting. Of all the episodes to basically leave alone, that is a bit surprising. But here we are.
Well, I don't think we're going to do much to the next one either. But to answer it real quick, Pod says, what if humans are the only species insane enough to build a transporter large enough for a full-grown humanoid? I kind of like that only in this instance to say that would explain why the Vulcans, first off, won't do it but can't. Because it doesn't seem logical to make it humanoid, because why would they do that? It'd be silly, right? Anyway. Thank you so much for sponsoring the channel. I appreciate that. So I don't necessarily hate that humans make it enough for a humanoid could fit, and Vulcans at that point had not yet. I don't know. It's possible. I could see the Vulcan reasoning for it, but Vulcans would be one of the only ones that did that. What do you think? Do you like it like you like the sun? I
don't like it at all, to be completely honest. I'm trying to phrase why. Because just saying no doesn't really do anything,
Because you don't like suns?
I hate Actually, I do love the sun in real life. I'm one of the only gaming geeks I know who prefers to get sun and, outsideness and all that.
The only one.
Yep, and we're dead.
The 8th Doctor is making fun of me. He comes at her pretty hard. You guys got what I was saying.
You guys are insane and also weird. Trihexia, really quick, this is a bad time to ask about that. However, if there is a Darksiders 4, I'm not really aware of it. If you're asking if I'll ever play a Darksiders 4, that will be entirely dependent on you guys, as it is true for every game I stream. You guys determine that, not me. Civilization. So I'm gonna go ahead and be honest.
You didn't tell us why you don't like the transporter thing.
I didn't. I don't know how to explain it. I don't like it, okay. and I hate to say that without explaining why, but that is the truth of it. It feels. Let me think about that.
Is it bad and Pad should feel bad?
No. If Pad was in the writing room, I would shut it down, but I would sit here for a while to try and explain why.
And you'd hug him, right?
No, I'm not a hugger. There'd be a brofist. A brofist Pad.
You should never have told me you're not a hugger. That's a bad thing.
I know how to punch people very hard, just as a warning.
I'm okay with. Oh man, do you know how much content I can feed from that?
Me punching you?
Yeah, I would milk that like it's hot. All right. Anyway.
I mean, we could have a thing where.
No, if you don't like it, that's fine. And if you don't want to go through it, that's fine. We don't have to change it. I was just curious if you want to explain it.
Well, first of all, I think it puts a little bit too much on the humans, where there's already too much on the humans. Like, we've actually done some work to explain why the humans are so relevant and necessary. Right. And I hesitate to go any more over that, because we've already had to pull it down from humans are awesome, because that was Roddenberry's actual goal, was humans are awesome.
unfortunately.
And I do want to pull away from that, and I think we have. I think we've done a good job of that. I hesitate to basically make humans more awesome than they are. We'll just cut off there. I think that's a good enough explanation.
So someone else brought up a point, and it's like, let me see. They were talking about the pie or whatever. Now this bugs me. This is something important to me. So the pie itself, they said may have already looked like it had been eaten.
Ooh, no, I get you. There's a bite taken out of the pie.
Yeah, that's what he's saying. So I'm taking
just the one though, just the one bite.
What is she doing? Like a séance?
Yeah, you see why I don't like the cinematography of the scene. It's just a weirdly directed scene.
Why is she doing yoga?
I don't know what she's doing. Anyways,
whatever. I can see how some might think because the edges or whatever, but that's still poorly shot. It could be either or, honestly. I don't know. Maybe she thinks that she can commune with it. Maybe that's.
I mean, she's thought of stupider things in that show.
She's done stupider. It's funny because it's true.
It is very true.
Do you want to take Civilization?
So Civilization. All right. So let me go ahead and admit that I don't like Civilization that much, but not because of the writing. Ironically, I do agree with Mr. Reloaded in that I don't think the writing would need to change much. The script. It's just everything else would need to change. And a couple of specific things I think should be ejected. Like, so I've been going through Season 2 of Enterprise, for those of you not aware, and I noticed something in Season 2 of Enterprise, and it's the weirdest thing, and I gotta preface this because it sounds strange. I noticed that Scott Bakula started acting in Season 2. Now, the problem, and I don't really mean to be anti-Bakula, but the truth of the matter is that he is noticeably a worse actor than the rest of his crew and cast in Season 1. It's weird. And by the time we get to Season 2, he starts actually acting again. Now, I don't know what changed exactly. I have no information on that. I can only speculate. But it is a marked shift. What does this have to do with Civilization? Bakula is terrible in this episode. He is anti-charismatic. This is supposed to be a Kirk-esque romp with the native woman who is smarter, effectively, than he is. And instead it comes off as this weird, awkward, cringy bleh.
Yeah, he didn't need the romance for sure. That was one thing I wanted to eject. It doesn't make...
Yeah, the romance should just be gone entirely.
It just shows... First off, I don't think it's very positive for females. And beyond that, the reason it happens is just... He kisses... So the... Whatever stops working, his communicator stops working.
Oh my God.
And so they don't understand each other. So he kisses her and he keeps kissing, like makes out with her, and she's okay with it. And all of a sudden she watches him. There's a good message for girls. Hey, if someone starts making out with you randomly, then you can just all of a sudden show affection. I don't know. And to me,
yeah,
it was. Like she was attracted until that point. And
no, so, it was just out of nowhere and weird and awkward and unpleasant. And yeah, I think we really should just straight up eject that.
Yeah. But so, I mean, what would you change? And yeah, just for those who haven't watched it, basically they come upon a civilization that is what is it? It's pre-industrial. It's
medieval, except they have lights and lamps and
they also have technology. They also have crossbows that they have like, what is it? The mini crossbows.
Again, the script would need some polishing. Or not the script. The actual presentation would need polishing. I do think the overall script idea is fine, because the script idea as presented is we come across our first, there's people here, planet. This is the first interaction with people. Cool. And then we find out that other aliens have already found them earlier and are exploiting them. Cool. And we want to fix that. Again, I'm with all of that. It's just everything they do about the presentation is bad, I think is the word I want to use there. So let's polish out the presentation of the area. We aren't limited by set design as much as they were, so we can show more than one hallway and a bunch of extras who don't know how to act. I'm sorry, I'm one of those people who believes very firmly that good extras are actually invaluable to television. Call me a weirdo. And have a Captain Proton poster. No! One other thing I would probably do, and this ties in the Vulcans once again, I like the idea that the Vulcans have already been checking this place out. that this is something that's already on their map, so to speak, and this could also be yet another tie-in for the Vulcans, and another tie-in for Archer, who's like, ugh. I mean, we could like I could just picture actual Archer being like, I mean, do we want? We weren't set out here to just read reports that the Vulcans wrote 20 years ago. We're here to make our own reports, right? Let's go down there. Well, we do have regulations for that. Well, why don't we make up our own regulations as we go? And kind of frame it as, not necessarily a good thing, but at the same time, something that could be a good thing, because Archer does actually have a point in the sentence I just made. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't hate it. I also think that we could even have them have like a beacon that they come upon, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
That would be interesting. Like he shows up, he's excited because he sees that it's a civilization. They get closer and they actually identify a Vulcan beacon that says "Stay away" because it's
pre-industrial. Yeah. No, I like that idea. And that leads to the conversation where it's like, well, we could just read all the information the Vulcans already came up with. No. We're doing it ourselves.
Right. And then you could even have a point with like T'Pol. Like, well, the Vulcans have said that we shouldn't do this. And he's like, well, good thing we aren't part of Vulcan High Command, isn't it? Good thing I don't answer to the Vulcan High Command, isn't it?
Whew. That burden gone.
I was really worried about that for a second. But on the bright side, this is last time I checked, this was a United Earth ship. So
another nitpick I would change, but I guess this isn't really a nitpick because this is a substantial change. Can we make the aliens less obviously evil? This has always been something that's kind of annoyed me.
I wanted to talk to you about that. I wanted to make it a little bit more. The change I wanted to do wasn't to make bombs or weapons. It was for something. It doesn't have to be vital, but something that really helped them. And that could be more a part of the discussion, make it more of a moral quandary. They're not doing this for bombs or whatever. They're doing it because they need this to build biospheres for their planet. That's not to say that they can't get it somewhere else. It's just a lot harder and
or more expensive.
And they can save more people if they do it this way. I would still keep them culpable, and I'd still, to a degree, and I'd still keep them hostile. I don't want to make them completely sympathetic to where I don't want to do the cliche, oh, it's so sympathetic, double moral quandary, whatever. I want to have them somewhat culpable, but still just have it for a reasonable thing. It may not even be their species. They're like, hey, we sell this to X aliens and they build their biospheres for it. And that's the way they keep it on because their planet has been destroyed. Now I can get it elsewhere, but that will cost them more. I can't get it for free.
Yeah.
And here I'm able to do it at cost. Mm-hmm. And then we could even, again, I still want them culpable a bit, but them to do a counter offer and say, okay, so it looks like it was a toxin. We'll work at that and try to ensure that doesn't happen again, right? We'll fix it and we'll watch it. But the counter to that is, well, you're mining that planet's resources without its population's consent.
Well, they don't even know these resources exist. How could they possibly protest to the and this is the argument he gives, how could they possibly protest to the mining of X537? They don't even know what that is.
And then they could have the counter. They could go back and forth. The counter is, well, this metal actually is used to make vessels as well. So you're stealing from their future, so because at one point they will have the ability, and this is a precious metal that would, once they understand the technology, could explode into the stars. And so you're basically stealing their future. And then it just goes back and forth. And ultimately, they're like, no, we're not going to do it. I'm still going to help these people out, and we're still off to the races with stopping them.
I like Schneeflock's idea. Let's make them Tellarites. The only reason they weren't Tellarites is because that rule was still in place, and it's a rule that would go away like mid-season 1. The no TOS characters, the no TOS races rule. Do you remember that one?
I don't. That sounds incredibly stupid.
Have you ever wondered why there's no Andorians or Tellarites or whatever in TNG or DS9 or Voyager or the beginning of Enterprise?
But there are Vulcans, and that's a TOS.
Well, that's okay because that's Spock. No, really, that's the justification. I'm not joking. You could look this up.
Reverse Doctor Who.
This is a freaking rule they had. It was dumb.
That's
So-
a reverse Doctor Who.
So I like Tellarites. It's a good idea. Let's do it. Because Tellarites in general tend to be a little bit mercantile and definitely tend to be a little bit antagonistic, even when they are not actually villainous or hostile. They just tend to be like, huh. So that would make a good pick there. It would also be a good way to showcase, as Schneeflock also points out, how things are right now. Just how because I keep talking about the Sengoku Jedi. I love the idea that nobody's done it. Oh, we could add a line about that. We could add a line how the Vulcans are aware of this, have been aware of this for years, but they can't do anything about it because if they move against the Tellarites, well, the Tellarites might take that as a hostile action, and they would discontinue trade and possibly lead to conflict, which would lead to the Andorians. They might actually take advantage of that and move against them, and it's the problem. It's the problem with everyone being balanced against everyone else.
And show how stupid the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. Really
I don't know what that has to do with anything, but it's totally a true thing. There you go. I agree with everything you said forever.
Are you that completely? I can tie that in.
I'm sure you could. That's not relevant though. So
how is it not relevant?
the relevant point.
The needs of the. I'm not even start. How is this? Okay, so now you're doing the. This is controversial, so let's not get into it.
No, I'm just joking with you. I'm just joking
okay,
with you.
I thought.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. I just thought it was somehow controversial. I was like, wait a second, how is that even controversial?
So, if you want to go into it, sure. But you got me thinking about the politics. Of course, you do of this situation.
I was just saying that the Vulcans would look at it. Well, they're doing it to a pre-industrial who aren't going to use it. It's only 500 million versus.
Oh yeah, I get you.
It's only 500 million versus an intergalactic Alpha Quadrant war.
Yeah, no, I feel you. And thus they decide not to get involved because they feel they can't. They can't afford to, might be a better way to put that.
They're not happy about it, but they really just, it's the most logical thing is to let them continue.
Let it be and just be like, okay. And T'Pol might even bring that up. And I like the idea that T'Pol... This is going to sound such a thing. Jolene Blalock does know how to act. She's not the best actress ever, but she's one of the better Vulcan actors I've seen in Trek history. And she knows how to portray something with just... It sounds straight, but there's just a tiny little tint of her portrayal that's off. She does that pretty well, and I like the idea that as she's reciting this, she does that, right? In other words, you could tell that this is something that bugs her, personally. And she's reciting the logic because she knows it's true, and she's reciting the high command writ because she knows it's true. But she's just sitting there kind of a little bit more rigid than usual, a little bit more jaw-locked than usual, and I like the idea that Tucker is the one who notices that. Doesn't say anything, just looks at her a little weird as she's saying it, like... And that's it, just start building that friendship,
Right.
So we've established it's the Tellarites. We've established why nobody's been dealing with it. We're ejecting the romance. There's no reason for that to be there. Now, we've already talked about how Archer being the first person to go down is like an early season thing. I think this is a good episode to really start to bring that into the behind the scenes. Not the behind the scenes. Bring that up as like the Z plot of the season, right? Make this be the first time that someone's like, Captain, you don't have to go down on every single away mission. Of course I do, Trip. Have him come down a little bit too harshly there, This I came out here to explore. You can explore quite well from the bridge of the ship, and we don't really have another person who could take that chair. We've got T'Pol, we've got you. Reed could take it if he needs to. Travis has command experience, and okay, and Tucker just lets it go. But this could be that first domino, basically.
Right.
What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have anything against that. It is it's a good way to go. I agree. Beyond that, the only other thing I think to add to is the standoff at the end between the ship.
Oh, I wanted to talk about that too. Sorry, go ahead.
Sure. I mean, if you want to give what you said, but I had a thought on it that.
I want to hear your thought first.
So now we're fighting the Tellarites, and one of the initial reasons that they didn't do anything is because they were concerned about war with the Tellarites or whatever. And so, because if you remember, like Trip in the OG, like feeling like he completely just undoes everything that happened in the literal episode before, is about to get everyone killed because he doesn't want to leave the planet
God,
for
I
the
hate
captain,
that
right?
friggin'
Because he,
Because he's an idiot.
for those who don't know the scene, T'Pol says they're ordered to leave. They're told that the captain's killed, and they're ordered to leave the planet. And so T'Pol tells the pilot, whose name,
Evil McEvilson.
no, yeah.
Oh, you mean Travis?
No, Travis. Yeah. So T'Pol tells Travis prepare to leave orbit, and Trip comes in and says belay that order, and T'Pol is like, I'm the second in command, right? So I actually outrank you. And he then contacts engineering and says prepare to make sure that we all die by ensuring this ship can't go anywhere. He says to vent plasma, actually, but that's what he said effectively. And
They
then
wouldn't
T'Pol
die.
said-
They'd just be stuck there without warp for
Yeah, they
the
would
rest
die.
of their lives.
Which would have killed them because they were going to get fired on if they didn't leave. So
Yeah.
he ordered their death. And so T'Pol says preparing to leave is not actually leaving. So just relax. So the way I would actually change that is, so you have the Tellarites, and they're say,
obstinate.
yeah, they say just leave or we're going to destroy you. And T'Pol says, prepare to leave and prepare to get out of orbit. And I might have her try to do something else, like bring us to have some numbers, bring us to 572.3 and prepare to leave orbit. And then, Trip would come up and he's like, oh, look, he's like, I'd have him reference the earlier episode. He's like, I thought I was getting to know you, but the second that you might start a war and have to stand up for your ideals or try to say or have to save someone, you just run like all the other Vulcans do. And I'd have her turn and look at him and say something to the effect of, if you look at the coordinates, you can see that puts us on the opposite side of the ship. I have absolutely no intention of leaving the captain, or something like that. Like she was working it through her head. And also bring up and say, you were right about something. Standing for your morals is worth a war, or something like that.
I would say standing up for your morals is worth some things.
Yeah.
That's how I think I would specifically phrase it.
Yeah, and so both of them would have a little give and take on that.
Yeah. I think that needs some polish, but I absolutely like the idea.
And that's how I'd change it. What were your thoughts on it, though?
So, our thoughts are admittedly incompatible, so I got to think about this.
Well, maybe it's better.
I sincerely doubt that. My idea, so I'm down with action in Trek. Action's cool. I like action. I think this was the wrong episode to have an action climax.
Well, just to clarify, too, they may not actually fight. I'm just saying.
No, yeah, I get you.
She would be positioning it in a better way, too, if they needed to do combat, that they would be better. That she never intended to leave.
No, I get you. I'm just thinking about how to restructure my idea to fit your idea, because what I was going to have is... I was going to pull up a card. I'm going to phrase it that way, instead of a Kirk. Because that's what they do. They pull a Kirk. Boom! Get out and don't come back. And he literally slugs the guy. I was thinking more along the lines of maybe exposing to oh God, I can never think of the other major races in this area. There's several, and I can never think of any of them. No. Jesus, that's some rain. Can you hear that?
I can't now. Is it coming down hard?
That is heavy rain. Good Lord. Sorry for anybody on stream who might be able to hear that. Anyways, other than the Andorians, like third race, we could establish it, and we probably should actually establish the major races in the area. But you get the point. Another race. We're going to contact... I almost said the Vidians. The Zindi. No, that's a bad example.
I mean, why couldn't, something that could be, I don't know what your exact idea is, but something, we could just include the Andorians if she wanted to talk her way out of it. And this could include where maybe she was going to leave, and then Trip said, I thought I knew you. We don't leave people behind. He's like, and even it comes up to what you brought up beforehand. I know you don't agree with the Vulcans here. I know you don't agree with Vulcan High Command. And sometimes standing up for some things is more important than taking orders or logic. And so and again, I don't mean to take what you're saying, but maybe she contacts them and then she uses the Andorians against them, because it could have come up. They were afraid the Andorians would side with the Tellarites, but she just flips that on its head. It's like she says, if we get into combat, both sides would take heavy losses, and who knows what the Andorians would do. And even the Tellarite might be like, well, the Andorians hate you. Yeah, but they like land more. So given the fact that we're more powerful than you, maybe we might have a little bit of an alliance with the Andorians, and we'll just split Tellarite right down the middle.
I like that idea. Less verbose is how I do it, but I do like that idea, and that is very much the direction I was leaning. Because the idea, so we can leave the combat in, that's fine, but I was going to leave the very threat of actual fighting. The Tellarites don't say we're going to shoot you. The Tellarites just say if you interfere with this, you realize this will be war, right? This will be conflict between the Vulcans. No, it'll be conflict between the humans and the Tellarites, which means it'll be conflict between the Vulcans and the Tellarites, which means it'll be conflict between the Andorians and the and then someone cuts them off. Like, I get the picture. So I suggest you take your high morals and your fancy sensibilities and go somewhere else with it. That then leads to T'Pol saying, fine, we'll leave, and then Tucker has his moment, and then she says no, and we have that little back and forth like you described, and then after Archer, I feel like Archer needs to be involved in some way, and I can't think of how, but like Archer finds something, and that gives them another tool where T'Pol can turn around and effectively says, very well, we've decided to contact the Andorians about your mining operations. So it will be war after all, then! Yes, a war between the Andorians and the Tellarites. You mean between the Vulcans? No. And then she just stops, and she just stares at the screen, and he's just... And you'd see his expression as he's like... And he realizes what she has pulled and how he's been outplayed here, and he's just...
What if... What if... Here's an idea, too, and I don't know if we could pull it in, but what if the... And maybe it's going too far, but what if the resource on the planet is the mainstay of Andorian ships?
Oh god, and the Tellarites sell it to Andorians
in
general. Yeah,
and then they could just say, that would have to make them evil, the evil thing. But then he could say, Andorians, and instead of no, like it's like, so it'll be war between the Vulcans and the Tellarite and the Andorians. It's like, how much of a markup on this resource do you do when you sell it to the Andorians, and then just let it hang, inferring that they'll just cut out the middleman?
Yeah, and just let that sit there, and the Tellarites just kind of... And like a good 3, 5, 6 seconds of just the Tellarite not saying anything, just processing it and realizing, and just... fine!
Oh, here's... Again, we may be adding too much to it, but another thing that... It's like, if you leave right now, this planet would be under Vulcan protection, because at this point we're not going to allow anyone to do it. But if you want to fight and keep your operation there, and then it goes into, I wonder how much the Andorians would be saving if they didn't have to buy it from, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. And funnily enough, we need to note this one down. Where's your spreadsheet? I don't actually have it in front of me, and I've got 30.
It's funny. I pull it up every time.
I have it somewhere in one of my tabs. I do. I just don't have it further right now. Because we need to write this down, because this totally needs to come up in the Andorian incident. This needs to be a thing in the Andorian incident.
I just shared it.
Via what? Which method of sharing did you just use, sir?
Discord.
Okay, I'm not in Discord.
Oh. It shows you're live on Discord. Not live, but...
Maybe that's why you always call me when I'm not on Discord, because it's telling you I'm there and I'm not.
Yeah, it says you're active. It says you're online.
I mean, I just logged in now, but obviously that doesn't... Okay, so... You know what? This is dumb. I'll do it on my sheet. Because your sheet's dumb and it's worst, and it's... Mockery. Alright, so... Enterprise. Season 1, episode... What episode is this?
7. No. Wait for it. Hold on. It is episode 8.
Oh, thank you. And episode 8. So Vulcans gain theoretical ownership over X mines on Civ Planet. And the reason that will be relevant then is because this would help to explain why... Like, I know that they mentioned that the Andorians do regular raids, but I like the idea that this helps to explain why the Andorians have decided to raid this particular time. Like, this was the push. We saw that, Shran shows up, and he's like, we saw that you just got a hold of Trillium D. I know it's not Trillium D, but whatever the substance is. And you don't think we don't know what that means? You don't think everyone in the Quadrant knows what that means? The only people who are Borgified here are you, sir. But you see where I'm going with that. That could be a Cass's belly for the Andorians in the Andorian incident. It would also serve as an interesting thing because then the Enterprise crew would be like, well, but that's not true. We know that. We were actually there for that.
Right.
Food for thought.
Yeah, I mean, either they have a source or it's just a protectorate of theirs. Like, it could be interesting. T'Pol, without authorization, basically makes it a protectorate of the Vulcan High Ascendancy, or High Command, whatever, which they probably would not be huge fans of.
Yeah. You did what?
All right.
That also ties into another idea, which is something that I think should come up. I don't think it should come up yet, although maybe this could be the first step in it. So one of the things I've been talking about a lot in all my Enterprise Ruminations, which I'm sure you've been watching religiously since they haven't come out yet, is the idea that, especially in this early days, there's a level of political office attached to the office of the captaincy. Let me explain that a little bit better. Imagine for a moment, and this is for you guys at home too, imagine for a moment that Sierra Mike over there in chat, he is captain of a ship. Yes, he is being assimilated right now, Ben Wilmot. And let's assume for a moment that Captain Sierra Mike has decided to effectively declare war on X race. Now, there are two ways that the nation that Sierra Mike belongs to can respond to that. They can disavow this, he was a captain, we're sorry, we'll punish him, politics, 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 right? And that is the norm. That is how things would operate in Picard's era. That's things how operate in DS9 era. You get it. But this early on, and this is true historically too, a captain can operate as an agent of the state. So in other words, it's not this random captain did something the state needs to undo, it's the state has declared war on them. And you see the distinction now. Because they can't just undo that, because they have vested in this individual the power of being an officiate of the state. And this is something I'm going to talk about constantly in Enterprise Ruminations, by the way. Sorry. Now, that is something I want to address in the rewrite. I want that to be a plot point somewhere, or a story point, or a world-building point. This could be the beginnings of that. Not with the Starfleet, but with the Vulcans. She does this, and Archer takes that idea and runs with it. Like, you're absolutely right. I'm the only captain out here of the only Warp 5 capable ship. I'm the point man. I should be making decisions on behalf of EarthGov.
Right.
And starts actually doing so, and that could lead to that becoming an actual thing later, which we could address later. But what do you think of that overall, before I get too far into it?
Yeah,
I know. Politics is my wheelhouse. I'm sorry.
No, it's good. Politics is a good thing. We should delve into it more. I like that. I think we should definitely go with it.
Okay. Well, cool. So yeah, no, in that case, then that would codify that. She does, in fact, literally, legally, make this a protectorate of the Vulcans, which then would actually cause her to be even more disliked by Vulcan High Command, and which would absolutely come up in the Andorian incident.
Right. Yeah, I like where we're going with that for sure.
You don't like the beard, Donovan? I'm sorry.
Well, the board wanted to remove the beards.
If it makes you feel any better, you will be seeing me without a beard for a year. Only 1 year.
When those upload.
1 year from today. Well, 1 year from this month, sorry. January next year, you'll start seeing me with a beard.
I'm confused. What?
Because all the videos I recorded for
that's
the
what I thought,
Enterprise and TNG and stuff, that was recorded years ago, or a year ago.
Right, but I didn't know. I thought maybe you were also meant here too, like on the.
Oh no, I'm not gonna shave. No, at least not yet. No plans to shave.
Was there anything else to episode 8 you wanted to adjust?
So let's see. So we've ejected the romance. We've added the political intrigue, which is also going to come up in the future. And I love that. I love setting up stuff in the future. I love Babylon 5ing it. I totally took that idea, that terminology from you, but I'm sticking with it. I feel like there's one other thing. That's why I'm talking it out. I'm trying to remember what it was.
The Tellarites are not just... So, it can be a very common component of Andorian ships, but the reason Tellarites are doing it is more humanitarian, for lack of a better word, reasons. So, it's helping out another race. Mirror Lore Runner, says Ryan. It's helping out another race, and that's why they're mining it. And so they're still culpable, but they're not. It's not like for evil.
No, yeah, I like the idea that they're corporate rather. I know nowadays corporate's pretty evil too, but I like the idea that they're more corporate and less
Corpo rats.
Yeah. I mean, you've played Cyberpunk. There were actually a lot of decent corpos in that game, which just weirded me out. I'm with it. I like it. It's just I was not expecting that.
So, and then was there anything else you said?
I swear there was one other thing. Let me think about this for a second.
Worst case, we can address it next one. On the bright side, we won't have to. It won't take as long because the intro will be done.
That was it. Okay, so the woman.
So the intro we're gonna have is gonna be done. Is that?
It's totally gonna be 100% done. Because that's physically possible.
The only other thing before the woman, and then definitely bring up the woman. They have Hoshi down there, and this is a small rewrite, but she instantly. It can take her some time, but she's the one that translated.
Oh yeah, no. What I would actually do, I'm sorry, that is a good thing to bring up. I didn't even think about that. I would have it so that their translator, throughout the course of this episode, which only takes place over like a couple days, it's really quick, never, like, those couple days are not enough time for the universal translator work. So Hoshi pretty much always has to be on hand to translate.
And since we're getting rid of the love plot, they don't have to be... we don't have to worry about them like talking as well together as they always are.
In fact...
We make the love plot between Hoshi and her?
No. You're getting me thinking, because I like the idea of turning this into a Hoshi episode. There's so few of those anyways, and I don't mind stretching those out wherever we can. Why? So remember I mentioned earlier that this is the beginning of the Archer shouldn't be on the away mission thing? Right. Maybe we push that up a little bit. Like he literally goes down and starts dealing with this and deals with the well, basically he bumbles it, right? Mm-hmm. He fails. He doesn't know how to talk to people. He doesn't connect with the scientist woman, but Hoshi does. And he doesn't really deal with the Tellarite, but T'Pol does. And again, because part of the whole arc here is that Archer is a bad captain, and we need to get to the point where he becomes a good captain, he needs to grow. And so maybe he ends up going back up to the ship, like, okay, whatever, but Hoshi ends up staying behind, and then we could have some scenes which, as they're presented, would be in English, because she's just straight up talking to her at this point. This is when she starts to find out about the greater plot, the massive factory, and I'm saying that wrong. This is when she finds out the scope and scale. That's how I want to phrase that. Because before, it's just like, there's Tellarites here, whatever, but they were deflecting. Just like they do in the episode, if you remember. The dude is like, yeah, no, I just hang out, and I've just got a thing in the back. It's not a big deal. But then Hoshi stays behind, connects with the woman, and starts to lean into things. It's like, well, medical fields aren't medical isn't really my wheelhouse, but this sounds like you've got the beginnings of an epidemic. And the woman's like, yeah, no, it's been getting bad. And she starts reciting things, and Hoshi's like, that sounds... And Hoshi doesn't need to figure it out herself, but she needs to be the point woman for that. She needs to be the one who initiates the discovery of the level of mining and the level of poison and the level of what's the Tellarite operation. And that then leads to them actually confronting the Tellarites and all that. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that it's a good way to go with it, for sure.
And the Kess...
I want to add.
Well, no, sorry. Sorry, not
Kess is going to be...
Yes, Kess is here. She warps in from the alternate reality future.
It's the older Kess.
It's the older Kess, and she's just angry. Oh, God. Okay, real talk. I would almost be amused by that. Like, in some random episode, somewhere in Trek, that has nothing to do with anything, old Kess just shows up for 3 seconds, looks around, wrong timeline, and then just vanishes.
All right.
Never explained. We're not doing that. That's stupid. What I like is the idea that Hoshi and the guest star, I can't think of her name, scientist lady, connect. Like that's the like she was supposed to connect with Archer and failed at because Scott Bakula doesn't know how to act in this season. And that's the only thing I was going to add to that, because guest star with main star chemistry is another one of those Star Trek hallmarks, in my opinion. That's it. That's all I wanted to add.
I was wondering, I had something on my mind, but I'm not sure what it is anymore.
Kes being dumb in Fury?
Yeah.
Such a dumb episode.
They did some dumb things with Kes overall. Yeah, the only other thing I might do, I don't know. I don't think it'd be worth it. And then from a television standpoint, I'm not sure that it would transfer over as well. The only thing that I was thinking too is that maybe we could still see her having trouble. Like their whole story is they're from like across the planet and they don't use the same language or whatever.
Yeah.
And so ever so often she might pause or try to have, if she's still speaking English, but she would have trouble talking because she's trying to figure out what the word is.
Oh no.
Or
what we could do is we could have her, this would be hard on the actress, but she would have to effectively replace an English word in the sentence with another word and seamlessly go through it and then pause and be like, wait.
Right. And there'd be two pieces to it. The first off would be her having issues and trying to find words or things like that, like people who are learning languages have to do. And then the other piece, I'd have the other actress ever so often while she's talking, just say a random word, kind of like what they did with Archer. And then Hoshi would stop and have to figure out through context clues what she was saying or have to ask her. And sometimes maybe not even address it. It's just she uses a random word, Hoshi pauses, and you can see she's working through context clues what she was saying and then just keeps going.
Yeah. I like that.
It just adds a little bit to the fact that this isn't native to her. She's still trying to learn this language.
Well, I'm all about those little nuance touches, you know me.
Yeah.
So yes, sold. I think that is actually it. I think we both said we're not going to change civilization, and then we talked about it for 40 minutes.
Still on time too. We're usually not on time.
That's true. That's true.
Crazy idea you'll hate. What if Hoshi and Travis were on the Kobayashi Maru in the first episode and they don't want to be on the ship and they're just waiting for the ship to finish up to get home? I don't know that I hate it. I'm not a fan of it necessarily, but
see, how do they get transferred off before the incident with the Klingons, I'm assuming, or do they survive somehow if you're going to go that route?
Yeah, once it's saved, maybe they were on a thing
or a pod.
Yeah. You got him thinking.
I don't think I would do well. Bouncing helps me think.
Well, and are you killing all the bad guys?
They're very bad. They're dutifully doing their orders and working in the factories, and therefore they must die.
If say she isn't, she'll kill you. What the hell does that even mean, Donovan?
I don't know. I think Donovan just wants to kill us all.
No, who doesn't?
I don't know. I'd have to go back and think about the specifics of the Kobayashi Maru.
We can consider that. I mean, that doesn't have to be specific to this episode, so I mean that can be just a discussion at a later point. So,
I've got it. It was Chef.
I like that they never show Chef.
I do too. We should totally keep that. Yeah,
we should. I would he'd show up more than they did, like instead of one episode, but it would always be the it would always be just the outfit that you see. Depending on how cringe I want to be, one episode, and I don't know, this would be totally cringe, but I'd do it just to troll because it's me. One episode, I'd have Chef, but every time Chef walks into frame, something is over the face. And it just have him show up 3 times.
Oh, like that that Tim Allen show with the guy who has always had the fence right there.
But like with him, it wouldn't be the same thing. It was just something like when he first walks in, maybe you see they're sitting down, and so you see him and he's carrying like whatever a chef's carrying, you know what I'm talking about. And when the camera angle comes up, it's right in front of his face. And then another time, maybe have Archer in front of him or something. Just always not show his face, just to be troll. Only do it once though. Or if we're gonna do it throughout do it.
Home improvement. That's it. Thank you. If we're gonna do that, let's talk. Well, I mean, we've kind of put the cat out of the bag. So let's talk practicality for just a second. Because I would then, in the animations, have to show that off in the animation. So Chef would need a sprite.
Right.
And so I'd have to decide which sprite is Chef.
There are
So who
animated
should be
Wilsons.
Chef?
I don't know if they're sprites, but there are animated Wilsons. There were several home improvement games.
Oh my god, I know. But thankfully, those are not NES games, so those are disqualified. It would need to be a NES game. It needs to be something from the NES era.
What I would do is I'd take a sprite and then I'd put like something in front of like a chef's, not hat, but you know what I'm talking about, where they take it off, whatever the hell that is.
I actually don't know what you're talking about in this instance.
You put food on it. It's silver. You put food on.
Oh, the platter.
Yeah, the platter. There you go. Maybe a platter in front of his face.
And so and all you see is this platter full of food. And like someone's legs. I would still have to decide who the legs are. That's the point. I would have to actually like in the TV show we would have to actually cast someone too, because there is someone actually walking around doing it.
Right. But I mean that would be the thing, yeah. Do that. Either that or instead of having the legs there, pick an actual sprite, but always find something to put in front of it.
Mm-hmm. And it's just there in the background. You can see like 2 pixels, literally 2 pixels. Anyways, I think that's a good cutoff point. I suppose I'll cut off first, ladies and gentlemen. I do hope you've enjoyed. I will be streaming Assassin's Creed Unity tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time as per usual. This guy is awesome. I don't know where he is on his stream, but I guess I can look up here. Where are you? You're up in the corner. So you're like over... No, you're over there. There you go. He's over there. You should totally watch more of him and give him all of your money. Not all of it, but at least some of it. And I'm going to chop off, and I'll see you guys whenever.